If you use SNAP benefits or you're supporting a household on a very tight budget, this video is for you. As we head into January, a lot of families become a little uneasy about food. And not because something dramatic has happened, but because January is a time of transition. Now, I don't personally receive SNAP benefits, but as a retired community health nurse, I work with families who do, and I try to help them plan within those budgets. So today, I want to share a few things that are helpful for you to know before January arrives, and more importantly, things that you can control. So why does January matter? Well, January is often a time of transition. Benefits may change, prices may change, and you may have just come off quite a bit of spending through December. So you're a little bit more concerned about finances. So budget and stresses and different things like that tend to increase in January. So that's why preparing in December is so important. So let's back up for a second and talk about benefits. What we do know is that in many states, benefit requirements are going to change. That includes eligibility. That it means the amount of the benefits, and it also includes the things that you can purchase on your SNAP benefits. So January can be a huge month and a month of dis-ease for many families. Some states are rolling out their benefit changes on January 1st. Others are rolling their changes out a little bit later. And what they're trying to do is stagger when the changes occur so that the changes don't all hit at once. But regardless, you need to be aware of what the changes may be in your state. So you're going to want to contact your local SNAP benefits office so you can find out what may have changed and how these changes in SNAP benefits may affect you and what you can do for your family. Household expenses often increase. This could be related to utilities associated with a change in weather patterns. It could be that your food needs change. This could be related to grocery prices going up, maybe fresh produce not as readily available from farmers markets or gardening and that kind of thing. So many households notice adjustments around the first of the year. Now, as a modern home economist, let's talk about what you can control. And one of the first things you can control is your pantry. And by that I mean you can control what goes into and onto your pantry shelves. And we're looking at your four corners pantry. That means your refrigerator, your freezer, your working pantry, which is that pantry that's inside your kitchen that you're pulling from every day, and then your extended pantry, what some people call a prepper pantry. And on those pantry shelves, you're going to include some shelf-stable items. And what do I mean by shelf-stable items? Well, these are items that can last on your pantry shelf for 5, 10, 15 years or longer if they're stored properly. So you're going to want to make sure that you store and save them properly. But these are long-term items that can really last you very well. These are items like rice and beans and lentils and pasta and canned goods such as canned vegetables, canned meats, canned soups. You might also have some pasta sauces, and these are things that I call meal makers. Your pasta sauces, your canned tomatoes, your different kinds of pasta, the little skinny pasta noodles that you're going to use to make soup, some wider pasta noodles that you're going to use to make casseroles or use for dumplings and that kind of thing. But you want to think about what are the items that you can pull off that shelf and that you can create a meal with just what's there. And as I said earlier, we're also looking at your refrigerator and your freezer, so you'll want to take advantage of items that are on sale. The winter time particularly, there would be lots of meats and different things like that are on sale that you can pick up using your SNAP benefits and get them put into the freezer so that you have them at a reasonable price when prices go up later. So just in case your SNAP benefits are reduced, you've been able to pick up some items when your benefits were more robust. When you're looking at those shelf-stable foods, you also want to be sure to include flour and sugar and salt and pepper and other spices. These are what I call your flavor boosters, but they make your meals taste better. You want to make sure you're picking up those kind of items, and as many fresh vegetables like peppers and onions and celery as you can, and then maybe chopping those up and putting them in the freezer bags and putting them into the freezer so that you've got them when prices go up, you've got them at a more reasonable price. And as a modern home economist, you'll also want to know how to stretch meals. And by that I mean making those meals more hearty, more robust by adding things like rice and beans to the meal, using lentils instead of meat, or using a smaller amount of meat in a casserole or a soup or a stew or a dish such as that. You may even consider having a meatless Monday or maybe a Super Saturday, where on Monday maybe you have mac and cheese or some kind of an item that doesn't require meat, roasted vegetables or some such, and then on Saturday maybe you have some kind of a vegetable or bean soup. But you choose a day or two in the week where you don't use meat, that protein that is the highest in price, and you choose options that give you equal nutritious value but more bang for your budgetary buck. And as a modern home economist, you also want to consider a simpler cooking rhythm. Now, what do I mean by a simpler cooking rhythm? Well, that's where you have one item, such as a chicken, for example, that may be the hero for the week. And so you'll choose to cook that chicken and end up with 3 different meals out of that one chicken. Meals that you have planned. For example, on Sunday, maybe you have roast chicken with rice and gravy. On Tuesday, maybe you have chicken noodle soup. And on Thursday or Friday, maybe you have a chicken pot pie or chicken and dumplings or some such. Or maybe it is ground beef that you're using as your hero item. And maybe on Sunday you make a meatloaf and have mashed potatoes and gravy and some other veggies to go along with that. And then on Tuesday, maybe you chop up part of that meatloaf and you have tacos, meatloaf tacos on Tuesday. And then maybe Thursday or Friday, sometime later in the week, you use part of that meatloaf to make spaghetti and meat sauce. But you have one hero item that you can flip into 2 or 3 other meals with different flavor profiles. And here's the other thing. If your family is large enough that when you make that chicken, you need that whole chicken for one meal, or when you make that meatloaf, you need that whole meatloaf for the one meal, then what you'll want to do is make 2 so that you get best use of your time. So you'll roast 2 chickens on Sunday, and one chicken's going to be for Sunday dinner, and the other chicken's going to be cut in half and then used for other meals later in the week. If you make meatloaf, that one meatloaf is going to be for Sunday dinner, and the other meatloaf is going to be cut in half, and one will be for the tacos on Taco Tuesday, and the other half of that one will be used for, say, the spaghetti and meat sauce another day in the week. But you'll want to get smarter in how you use those items. And I guess smarter maybe is not the right word. You'll want to be more strategic. That's a better word choice. You want to be more strategic as to how you use those hero meat sources, because with today's prices and if benefits are reduced, you want to be able to do the best you can and the most you can with what you have. This video is brought to you by Apron Diva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. Now, what do we know about what's changing? And I will use Indiana as an example because many states are using the same pattern. But after January 1st, in many states, you will no longer be able to buy sugary snacks, or shall we say candy, or sugary beverages after January 1st. So what is the definition of candy? And candy is a preparation of sugar, honey, or other natural or artificial sweeteners in combination with chocolate, fruits, nuts, or other ingredients or flavorings in the form of bars, drops, or pieces. The term does not include any preparation requiring refrigeration. So when we look at sugary snacks, they're including candy in that population, but let's look at what can be and what cannot be purchased with your SNAP benefits after January 1st in regards to candy or sugary snacks. Potato chips, yes. Ice cream, yes. Fruit, yes. So these are things that you can purchase with your SNAP benefits, and it looks like the fruit they're talking about here are maybe dried fruits according to this image. Dried fruits. Now, what can you not purchase? And so these are the no items. No fruit strips. No kettle and caramel popcorn. No chewing gum. No mints. No candy bars or pieces. No chocolate chips, and no marshmallows. As far as the chocolate chips and the marshmallows, these are things that we tend to use in baking items, but these are things that are on the list. Now let's talk about sugary drinks. Again, I'll give you the definition first. Non-alcoholic beverages that contain natural or artificial sweeteners. The term does not include beverages that contain milk or milk products, soy, rice, or similar milk substitutes, or are exclusively naturally sweetened using natural vegetables and or fruit juice. So let's look at the yes category first. These are things you can buy with your SNAP benefits. Pediatric electrolyte drinks, fruit juice, unsweetened water, and unsweetened iced tea. And when we say fruit juice, I believe they're talking about 100% fruit juice. So now let's look at the no items, and these are the things that you cannot purchase with your SNAP benefits. Sweetened iced tea, water mixes with sweeteners, sports drinks, soda pop, and energy drinks. These are all no's. So those are things that you cannot purchase with your SNAP benefits. So what can you do now? If you have any SNAP benefits that you have not used, I encourage you to pick up some chocolate chips, some butterscotch morsels, some marshmallows, those things that you can use to bake and make treats for your family. I was hoping that they would not be on the no list, but they are. So I would stock up on those before January 1st and put them in the freezer. Well, put the chocolate chips and the butterscotch morsels in the freezer. I don't know about those marshmallows, but the chocolate chips and butterscotch morsels and those kinds of things can go in the freezer, and set them aside in the freezer and use them in reserve so that you can make treats for your family. And then learn how to cook and bake. You can learn to bake chocolate chip cookies and brownies and those kind of things. So I encourage you to stock up on those items now and put them in the freezer so that you have them. So you might be asking yourself, well, why are they doing this? Why are they making these changes? And the whole idea behind these changes are to enable SNAP recipients to choose healthier options so they can create and have healthier families. So let me read the information to you from the Smart SNAP Indiana, and it says the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program provides food assistance to low and no income individuals and families. The USDA is empowering states with waivers that restrict the purchase of non-nutritious items like soda and candy. These waivers are a key step in ensuring that taxpayer dollars provide nutritious options that improve healthy outcomes within SNAP. So that's why the changes are being made. Now, whether you agree or disagree, that's where we are. And so what you need to do is work within the system as well as you can so that you can get what you need for your family. So prior to January 1st, you are able to purchase these items. So purchase those items, as I mentioned earlier, your chocolate chips, your butterscotch morsels, those baking things that you can make treats for your family. And if there's some candy bars or a few items like that you want to stock up on a few of them. So here's the other thing, and it's probably the most important thing, so I should have said this first, was that if you get an email from the FSSA or the Family and Social Services Administration, open it immediately. Because if there's been any changes in the benefits in your state or the benefits to you and your family, in eligibility requirements, in your recertification date, in anything, you need to know. So when that letter comes in the mail, be sure to check it out. You want to open it and you want to see what's what. If there's some things in it that you don't agree with, or some of the information you believe is inaccurate, then what you're going to want to do is contact your FSSA office immediately and schedule an appointment so that you can go in and discuss your case. And make sure you take the appropriate documentation with you. And when you get them on the phone and schedule that appointment, ask them, what do you need to bring with you so that you have everything that you need. If this conversation seems heavy, I invite you to check out a video we recently did called 7 Practical Tips to Becoming a Modern Home Economist. In this video, we talk about creating systems, not meals, but creating systems that support your home. I will link it in an iCard above and in the description box below so that you can check that out. And if you're trying to stretch what you already have, or you're building a pantry from scratch, I have 2 other videos that you might find interesting. One is my 20-item capsule grocery haul, and the other is how to build your pantry from scratch. I will link those in the description box as well, so they'll be there if you want them. So in January, we're going to be talking a lot more about food systems. And if you're wondering who is we, well, the we is Miss Leona of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, and myself, Miss Denise of Homemaking with Denise. We are the modern home economists, and we are trying to teach you homemakers, particularly our young homemakers, how to become modern home economists as well. Because let's face it, in this day and age and with the grocery prices that we're all dealing with, we have to learn some new strategies. So if you're on a strike budget, join us. And let me leave you with this thought. You're not a bad homemaker. You're not behind. You're learning a new skill set, and learning to run a home is probably the most difficult but the most rewarding skills that you can learn. I'll see you next time.